Hello, and welcome to episode 8 of the Polished Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, Oliver Cardrick, and joining me is Matthew Patterson.
Hi. Sorry. I've been re-listening to our old episodes, and I've realised that in all the ones out so far, I say hi in exactly the same way. So
yeah, you do.
I was trying to think as we were recording, like, a new way to say hi, but I guess hi is the best thing I could come up with.
Not only do you just say hi the same way every time, there's always a long pause between me introducing you and then it's just hi.
Yeah. Wow, what a strong start. Okay, let's go. Okay. I'm excited.
So, right, what are we going to do? Oh, yeah, we're going to do... How are you feeling, Matthew?
I'm feeling hot.
Yes.
Very hot. I know that some parts of the country have rain and flooding at the minute. I'm sat in my room and it's about 28 degrees. I've got a thermometer and it's hovering around the 28 mark. I'm fucking sick of it.
Yeah,
I just want it to rain.
The worst bit is I looked up the Met Office weather report yesterday, and all week the lowest the humidity level gets is 94%. So
right, we're not here to forecast the weather. We're here to talk.
This is a weather podcast now, Matthew. Did you not get the memo?
Them clouds, Ollie.
Yay!
Right.
Weather's a thing.
So this is what, episode 8 now?
Yes.
Episode 8. We're doing solo. We are doing solo. I've been waiting for this one. I like hating things.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing, isn't it? It's after Last Jedi. Well, things could only get better from Last Jedi, and they did, but not by much.
No, not by much. The problem with not expecting anything, like I went into Solo expecting a car crash, and in a one-word summary, it was mediocre.
Yeah.
But because it wasn't awful, I came out of it. I mean, it was entertaining enough.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good film. It wasn't a great film, and it. I don't know. We will talk in depth about it.
It was a Star Wars movie, and that's going to be our main topic later. We'll be going into the non-spoiler and the spoiler review of that later on. But first of all, we've got some news to get through, so I'm going to play Matt's news jingle.
This week in the news.
I love that is a thing, that we have a jingle now.
I forgot that existed, actually.
I've got the soundbite recorded on my computer of you doing.
We'll have to mix it up with some sound effects and stuff, or just keep it as my voice. I guess I don't know.
Just you singing, "This is the news."
Well, it's very sort of like Ricky Gervais XFM days, where all of his jingles were just him saying what they were doing.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get into the news. The first piece of news we've got is we're getting Bond 25. This is not news because everyone knew this film was going to happen. They weren't going to stop at 24 movies.
No.
So, yeah, that's been confirmed, and it's being directed by Danny Boyle. Okay, so this is Danny Boyle's first James Bond movie. Daniel Craig is back, even though he has spent the last, 10 years or however long it's been since Skyfall complaining that he hates James Bond and he doesn't want to ever do a James Bond movie again. And then he came back to Spectre.
Yeah, and then here he is again doing another James Bond movie.
So he can't hate it that much.
I do like him as James Bond. I know it sucks. If he doesn't enjoy the role, then that sucks. But I do think he makes a good James Bond. He fits in well with the kind of overall grittier, more grounded tone that they seem to be going for.
I think he works as a James Bond until he puts a suit on, because he's too fucking big.
Yeah.
And he just they squeeze him into these designer suits and his muscles are just popping out of it, and it's no, don't wear a suit.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
No.
It's like when John Cena puts a suit on.
Yeah, no, there's something very wrong about seeing that. Apart from anything, they're always horrible fucking colours as well.
Yeah. But yeah, so we've got confirmation that Craig is back. Ben Whishaw is back as Q. He's inoffensive.
Just I think he's everything a modern day Q should be.
Yeah, he's
just a goofy, scared nerd.
And then we've got Naomi Harris back as Moneypenny. Again, it's fine. She's good in the role. I kind of, again, assumed she'd be back, so this is kind of not news. But yeah, she's good. And then there's no word on it, but it's a pretty safe bet that Ralph Fiennes is going to be come back as M. Because
yeah, I'd be very surprised if not, especially because he's recently been installed as the new M. I suppose.
he's only done like one film as M, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Spectre.
yeah.
So yeah, it hasn't been confirmed that he's back, but you know he probably is. So it's also got
Has
a
there any
release
word
date.
on any of the villains? Sorry to cut you off.
I've not heard anything.
No, it's a safe bet, I guess, as well that Blofeld will be back in some capacity.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, if it's Bond, if it's the 25th film of Bond, like Blofeld is the big bad in the Bond franchise. Like,
Yeah.
do you reckon they can't really call it Bond 25 though, can they? Because wasn't Casino Royale a reboot?
Yeah, I think this whole line of Bond films is taking place before all of the original Bond films.
Yeah.
Which does make the fact that they're referencing the fact that it's the 25th a bit weird. I don't know. Maybe they'll stick it in somewhere else. It's safe to assume that they won't, and it will be probably following quite soon from Spectre.
Yeah. So anyway, we've got release date of the 25th of October 2019, and that's all we know. But I mean, Danny Boyle's a good director. Daniel Craig is a good Bond. Like, well, to be fair, he's only made like one good Bond movie, but he's fine. Like, I'm kind of bored with Bond at this point. Like, at this point there will have been 25 of them. Not that.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be good. But hopefully it will be the last. Not that it's verging anywhere near bad at this point. It's just we've got enough of it.
Yeah.
At this point, there's nothing more they can do with James Bond, I think.
No, there's better spy movies out there now.
And obviously, to call it at 25 films would just be quite a nice way of doing it, I think.
Yeah, and like the Mission Impossible franchise is kind of outdoing it at the moment in popularity. So I think this could be a good way to end it. Not that I really don't want them to, but I also do want them to because I like Bond. But we're not going to get into that because we've got to move on. So yeah, that's the news around James Bond. Not really know much. The next bit of news is the bit that Matt sent me a very excited text message about during the middle of the week, and that is that we have rumour, or I don't know if it's been confirmed, that Jake Gyllenhaal.
I think it is confirmed now.
Jake Gyllenhaal has been
not
cast as
necessarily
Mysterio in the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel.
I was so happy. I was so happy. Yeah, Mysterio, the kind of classic Spider-Man villain, is finally getting a live-action portrayal. One that he hasn't had, and one that I'm desperately keen to see. I don't know if you know about Mysterio. His superpower, if you want to call it that, is that he's very good with special effects. And that's kind of it.
Isn't he like an actor or something?
He's a failed actor, I believe, who basically just becomes good with illusions and special effects. He's just a maniac as well. He's absolutely mad. There are comic book instances. I believe on one instance he saved the Avengers.
Oh, brilliant.
I can't remember quite how, but I remember he saved the Avengers, and Iron Man, I think it was, said, "Guys, we can't let anyone know about this. We just got saved by fucking Mysterio."
I'm just gonna check something because I just had a thought. If this movie comes out around the same time as like Avengers, how are they going to market it without spoiling Infinity War?
That's something that occurred to me, actually. Just films in general that are coming out between now and Infinity War. Ant-Man and the Wasp, especially. I'm very keen to see where they place that in the timeline. I think we discussed this before, but it'd be really cool if that film just ended with everyone disintegrating into dust.
So, Infinity War is coming out next year, isn't it?
Yes, but it'll be May 2019.
Okay, well, Homecoming 2 is set for release in July 2019, so the marketing for this will be out before Infinity War hits cinemas. So that might be an interesting... I don't know how they're going to do that. It's going to be quite fun, I imagine.
Yeah, no, that will be interesting actually. But yeah, Mysterio, we're getting live action Mysterio. So excited. There's another instance, I think Spider-Man kind of has him pinned down and he sort of asks him why he's doing what he's doing, and Mysterio just screams, "I'm dying," and kicks Spider-Man in the bollocks. Like, he's just...
Yeah.
He's just he is comic book character at its most comic book, and I'm very excited to see how they do this.
Yeah, it will be good.
In live action. Is Jake Gyllenhaal the right guy to do it? I don't know. We will just have to wait and see on that one.
I'm sure he'll
we're
be
getting
fine.
live action Mysterio, and I just can't. I could not be happier with that fact. I do hope they retain the ridiculousness of his costume as well.
Oh, with
just
the
giant
dome.
glass dome over his head and the scales and the cape.
I'm sure they will.
I'm very excited about that.
I've just had a look on IMDb, and it's listed the cast, or like the bare bones of the cast. There's not everyone there yet. Jake Gyllenhaal is confirmed on the page as Mysterio, and it says that Michael Keaton is returning as the Vulture.
Ah, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's quite a good lineup actually. Provided Jake Gyllenhaal, because we've seen Michael Keaton as Vulture. He's excellent performance.
So yeah, basically the list of characters we've got Peter Parker, MJ, Aunt May, Mysterio, the Vulture, and Ned. That's the only confirmed cast so far.
Yeah, I mean that's all we were ever going to have at this stage, I think.
Yeah, but I mean it's good. Should we move on to the other Marvel casting news? This one is 100% a rumor. That is that Donald Glover may be joining the cast of Black Panther 2. And those of you who watched the first Spider-Man will know that he is already in that movie as the Prowler. So I don't know. He has to be playing the same character, doesn't he? It just makes no sense.
Yeah, especially considering the universe, it wouldn't make any sense at all if he appeared as someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, is it feasible? Yeah. Do I want to see it? Not really.
No.
I'd rather they kept everything distinct if they're still kind of continuing this universe sort of beyond Infinity War.
It's quite interesting as well that the Prowler is the uncle of Miles Morales in this universe as well. I don't know if that's what it was in the comic books. I don't think it was.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that's quite an interesting way to go with this, unless Miles Morales was just a reference and they're not going to do anything with him. That's kind of, interesting way to go for it. They've got, I mean, as you'll find out later on in this episode, Donald Glover is always a win. So this is good.
Foreshadowing alert.
Yeah.
Donald Glover has proven that he can fucking act.
Yeah.
This is probably his first big serious performance.
And he nails it.
He's the star of the show. He is the star of the show.
So that's good. And it's also supposedly Michael B. Jordan will be returning. Now, I don't know how much I can talk about that, because Matt, have you seen Black Panther yet?
Yeah.
You've seen Black Panther? Okay, then spoilers for Black Panther. Skip forward, 2 minutes if you don't want anything. Michael B. Jordan dies at the end of this movie, so I'm not entirely sure how he's going to be coming back.
We don't know in what capacity.
Yeah.
It's the whole Jessica Jones Kilgrave's coming back.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's back for one episode as a vision, if you want.
But they have introduced the spirit realm into Black Panther when he goes and speaks to his father, so he could be in that.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that he's returning doesn't necessarily mean he's returning as, with any sort of major role.
Yeah, it's just, and again, this is just a rumor. There's nothing on Black Panther 2 yet. But again, that'll be good. So that's the Marvel casting news. On to probably the happiest news of the week, and that is we got the second trailer for the Christopher Robin live-action reboot thing, and it just looks nice. It's just...
It is nice. It's just to have something nice. It just looks happy.
Yeah.
I just want to go and watch it. I just want to be happy.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of Winnie the Pooh when I was younger. I remember in particular the Tigger movie. When the amount of times I played and rewound that cassette tape when I was younger.
And this is the original voice actor of both Winnie the Pooh and Tigger returning, which is Jim Cummings. So it's the real voices. and it's just.
I watched the trailer. It opens with Winnie the Pooh's voice, like genuine goosebumps.
It's just
It
nice.
just looks like it'll be nice.
The animation looks pretty
It's another
good as well.
example of a kids' film that's probably semi-marketed towards adults as well, because it's part of so many people's childhoods.
Well, it's
like Ollie and I were having a discussion before we started recording about how these sort of films are, like this, The Incredibles 2, Toy Story 3, as examples. They're not really exclusively kids' films,
No.
because so many people have kind of memories attached to these films. My favourite example is how many adults are posting on social media and stuff about how they're going to go and watch the shit out of The Incredibles 2.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I can't wait for that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to go and watch it.
But this film, it just reminded me of Paddington. Like, Paddington, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't know if it would have done very well overseas, because Paddington is a very, very, very English cartoon from the 60s.
Yeah, no, exactly. Can you imagine like any other country being introduced to the idea of marmalade sandwiches?
Yeah, and this little bear from deepest, darkest Peru.
Yeah.
No. But that movie was just, they went full, they 100% committed and made it the kids silly, over the top, just happy, fun loving, childish romp that made that film work. And it looks like they're going to do this with Winnie the Pooh, and it's not going to be, an adaptation. I'm just trying to think of what stuff like this. Well, most cartoon to live action adaptations don't work, and this kind of feels like it will. The animation is adorable. Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, the animation's brilliant. The art style, kind of bridging the gap between the cartoony art style and the sort of grounded, real visuals. It does it just cute.
Yeah.
Just nice. I was grinning ear to ear for the whole trailer. It just looks like it'll be nice.
So that's out on August 17th this year, so not that long. It's probably going to be the nicest film of the summer season this year. Maybe Incredibles. It's going to be... it's going to be one of those two, I think, for best, just nice family movie. Unless Incredibles is terrible, which it might be. I mean, it probably won't be, but it might be.
We can't rule it out.
No.
I desperately want to, but
it might be.
We have to consider.
I mean, what?
I mean, if you'd asked me at this point last year, is The Last Jedi going to be terrible? I'd have said no, of course not. It's a Star Wars film. Here I am now, jaded, horrible, ruined.
Just trying to think
a mess of a man.
What sequels have Pixar done? They've done Toy Story 2 and Cars 2. So they've had one brilliant one and one terrible one. So it could go either way.
It could go either way.
I can't think of... They haven't done any others, have they? Well, apart from Cars 3 and Toy Story 3. I don't think they've done...
No, I can't think of any others.
Oh, they did Monsters University, and that was alright. It wasn't great.
Yeah, that went down fairly well.
It was, yeah. So, I mean, we're not talking about that. They were talking about Winnie the Pooh, lovely, happy. As I said, Jim Cummins is back. Ewan McGregor just looks like he's having so much fun with this role, just getting to talk to Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so now we're going to go into the returning segment, as in we did it last week because we were running out of time, of just quick fire news bulletins that there's...
We should call this segment, "Oh shit, we need to hurry up."
Yeah, that's perfect. Basically, we're going to read headlines about stories that have happened this week that have basically little to no information about them. So the first one is we've got a poster for the new Men in Black spin-off movie. All we know is that it's starring Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, who you may know as Valkyrie from Thor Ragnarok. And that's pretty much it. It's a poster. There's some sunglasses. They're making a new Men in Black movie.
Yay!
Do we
will
need
it
one?
Fit in modern day cinema? Will it fit in? Almost definitely not. But
No. I see. What's this? The fourth Men in Black movie? I liked the first one.
Yeah.
The second one was god awful, and the third one was just fine.
We only needed one, didn't we?
Yeah.
I don't think the first one established enough to to make any more. Really.
The only thing that's quite upsetting is this is the final nail in the coffin of the supposedly rumoured Men in Black 21 Jump Street crossover, which I was really excited about, but it looks like that's not happening anymore.
No.
Because that would have been brilliant. That would have been fun. But Men in Black, it's going to be fine. It's going to make money. Yeah. So that's that. Next one, we got a poster for the Lego movie
sequel. Got a poster.
It's gonna
Moving on.
Yeah. The cast is returning. It's fine.
Yeah, it's the same cast. They all did a pretty good job. Very good job, actually. The Lego movie, it's one I really enjoyed, actually.
One of the biggest
Despite
surprises
not expecting to.
of the last
definitely.
10 years.
I expected nothing and got quite a good film out of it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. And then the final piece of quickfire news is what I'm using to segue into our major topic. We're getting a Boba Fett movie. Why?
Yay! It's the same problem that Solo has amplified.
Yeah.
What do we need to know about Han Solo? On the exterior, he's a smug, roguish rebel who's only out for himself, but on the inside he cares and he likes fighting for little guys, and he is a genuinely good person. What do we need to know about Boba Fett? Bounty hunter, dad's dead.
Clone.
Wears armor that's not his. There we go.
Yeah.
I really genuinely, at least with Han, Solo. I don't know why I just called it Han. At least with Solo, there were inklings as to where they'd go with Han's past.
Yeah.
Because we know absolutely nothing about Boba Fett, and he was never written like we needed to. I just don't know where they're going to go. Maybe they could surprise us, but don't count on it.
Well, they're going to have to... well, one thing, throughout the entire movie, I forgot the word for movie then, he's going to have his helmet on for the whole thing, because the New Zealand actor that played the clones in the original series is a lot older now. So I don't know if he'll be able to reprise his role, because those of you who don't know, because George Lucas hates everyone, Boba Fett is actually a clone. And he was a whiny little kid. Unless we get that story, where we get whiny little kid Boba Fett.
Oh God, I'm not putting anything past Disney. Not now.
He can go on adventures with like a baby hut. Yeah. So.
Oh please, let's move on. I'm gonna cry otherwise.
Okay, so we just got mentioned that they've got a director, and that's James Mangold, who made Logan. So like.
On the one hand, he made Logan.
Yeah.
On the other hand, he made the Wolverine.
I didn't mind the Wolverine.
General consensus did mind it quite a lot.
Compared to X-Men Origins, I thought it was pretty good.
No, yeah, but compared to X-Men Origins, The Last Jedi was pretty good.
Yeah, I know. But
no, because I have fun with X-Men Origins.
But yeah, Logan was great. So that we know this guy can do, he can direct well. If there's a good script. I mean, you could do something interesting with Boba Fett here.
Provided they go down the Logan route and make it quite dark and quite a dark, gritty story.
I'd quite like post Sarlacc pit, because if you haven't read any of the expanded canon, he survives that because his armor is resistant to stomach acid, and he climbs out
happily.
So, if they do a post Sarlacc pit Boba Fett story, that might be quite interesting because it takes nothing away from the original Boba Fett. Which is, whereas this is the biggest problem we're going to have when we talk about Solo, is because it's a prequel, it adds things too early to the character that for some reason just get forgotten about later on because they needed some conflict in this movie. But if they do a sequel version of Star Wars set between episodes 6 and 7 about Boba Fett, that could be more interesting. But that's all I can say. I'm not excited.
I am not gonna. I until I have the vaguest inkling of where they're gonna go with it, until there's a trailer or something. I just complete apathy.
Yeah.
I can't even seem to get worked up about it. Actually,
Right.
it's
Should we
just
talk
going to be
about
there.
Solo?
Hey, speaking of Solo, let's talk about Solo. That was the news.
Sweet. Let's talk. Yes, it was a movie that. Before we get into the review of it, we should probably talk about this movie's failing in the box office.
Oh wow!
Majorly.
I mean, you could put it down to so many different things. Actually,
Yeah.
you could put it down to the just shitstorm that has been Solo's PR campaign. All the things coming out. Obviously, the change of director. You could put it down to the general poor reception of The Last Jedi, with so many people being annoyed about it and just disillusioned by Star Wars. You could put it down
And
to
the fact
oversaturation, actually.
Yeah, the last film was 5 months ago, and now we're getting... It used to be you had to wait like 3 or 4 years between each Star Wars movie. Now we've got 2 in 6 months.
It is the last thing they want to do is to make people bored of Star Wars. Something that hasn't happened in the series, multiple decade history. For people
This
to
is the
actually
worst
be bored with
opening
it.
ever. This is the worst Star Wars opening ever. Like, worse than the prequels.
I think they estimated worldwide opening weekend of $300 million. They haven't made half that. I think final total was just under half that. That is a really bad performance.
147
if insider leaks are going to be believed, Disney were always preparing for this to bomb. It doesn't make it any less embarrassing, upsetting that it's bombing, because it is Star Wars, and the fact that we are witnessing the death of Star Wars actually, it is upsetting.
And we live in a world now where, in the top 5 highest grossing movies of all time, there's a bloody Fast and Furious movie. And this movie is not that bad. Like, it's not great by any meaning of the word, but you compare it to some of the low points that Star Wars has been, like The Last Jedi and Attack of the Clones. This is far better than them.
Right. So shall we get into it?
Yeah. Okay. So
let's get into it.
We're doing
what were my
non-spoilers
expectations for this film? They were so low. Ha 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 ha.
I actually...
Sorry, that popped into my head, and I've been waiting to say it for about 10 minutes.
Fair enough. I was actually... Well, when I first heard they were making this movie, I was... Oh God, why? Please don't do this to me.
Yeah.
And then
as we explained earlier, the same problem that Boba Fett has. Han isn't that... Of all the characters in the Star Wars universe, Han is not the one I'd pick to have an expansion on.
Yeah, and then I heard about the casting, which at the time when they first announced the casting about a year ago, it sounded really like a good idea. Like Alden Ehrenreich, the guy that plays Han Solo, had just done a Coen Brothers movie in which he was really good in. Donald Glover is Donald Glover. Emilia Clarke is Game of Thrones. She's one of the best parts of that TV show. And Woody Harrelson is just a really fun guy to have in a movie. And then they announced that Lord and Miller were going to direct it, and I was quietly going, all right, we could have a bit of a sleeper hit here.
Yeah, the cast exactly. This could be a good...
They're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then they sacked Lord and Miller.
Yeah.
And they brought on Ron Howard, which, although the loss of Lord and Miller is a bad thing, Ron Howard is
Ron Howard's a good director. Ron Howard is a good director. And then they announced that then the insider leaks started happening.
My opinion plummeted.
There was a leak that said that Alden Ehrenreich... I apologise, I still haven't learned how to pronounce his surname.
I think it is Ehrenreich.
Ehrenreich. Alden Ehrenreich.
Ehrenreich.
This insider leak suggested that he couldn't act. He needed dialect coaching for all of his lines, which as the leading character, you shouldn't. This actually confused me because it implied to me that they'd hired him entirely based on look, and they hadn't, auditioned him or screen tested him or anything. There's bad acting, and then there's needing dialect coaching for the entire fucking script.
Yeah.
I just don't. I still don't understand quite how it happened.
I will admit the level of how bad he was exaggerated by the press. He's not that bad in this movie. He's not good by any meaning of the word, but he's not as bad as they were implying that he literally cannot hold a scene. There's some genuinely good moments in this movie where I think that it's very few and far between, but there are moments where I look at him and I see a young Han Solo.
Yeah. I mean, let's get into just general overviews now. We've God knows we've spoken about the disastrous PR campaign that led to this moment enough.
Yeah. I liked it. Personally, I really had a fun time. It's not a great movie. I'd say it's better than The Last Jedi. I'd say it's better than all of the prequels. And when I was talking to Matt, I put it on par with Return of the Jedi. It's just a good Star Wars movie. It's not great. It's not going to be something that you think about or remember too much, but my God, it's better than some of the trash that's been cast into this universe.
Yeah, it was all right. It was entertaining. Entertaining is a good choice of word.
It's a bit slow at the beginning.
I've seen it summed up as a terrible film but a great show, and I think that's quite a good way of putting it, because it's entertaining but it's not good. The remnants of the kind of the leak that said that the script was badly written. I mean, it's not brilliantly written. Really, it's very a lot of the dialogue is very sort of hammy. No, it was all right. It was there.
Fun.
I had fun with it. The first hour was one of the slowest hours I've ever seen of any film ever. I should point out, I saw Solo last night, as we're recording this on the Sunday, the 28th.
So did I swear.
As did Ollie. I was very hungover and very tired as I watched it, and for the whole of the first hour, I was genuinely concerned I might fall asleep. It was genuinely just dull. Nothing of consequence happened, I don't think.
See, I'd agree with you, but I'd say it was the first half an hour, because basically this movie is terrible until Lando shows up, and that's at about 40 minutes in.
Yeah. I think I said to you in a message, everything pre-Lando is really fucking dull.
Yeah. But yeah, Lando shows up about 40 minutes in, and that's just after the big action set piece in the trailers with the train. So if you give 10 minutes for the train heist, I'd say it's about 30 minutes in that I started to pay attention to it. But before that, yeah, it's.
I was concerned that this was going to be everything I feared it would be.
Yeah, it
doesn't
start well.
As I say, my expectations were so low. I said that like it was a pun. It wasn't a pun. They were just so low. That when the film was mediocre, I actually ended up having some fun with it.
It was the thing.
I expected a car crash and got a film. It was serviceable. It had a plot, which puts it above The Last Jedi.
It didn't destroy characters from your childhood, which puts it above The Last Jedi.
Yeah. It's better than The Last Jedi. I'm not as dispassionately angry as I was with that film.
No. Okay, so we should. We've done basic thoughts. Let's go on to tone of the movie. I'd say this movie had a really consistent tone. It wasn't all over the place. It was. It had a nice. It had I think it felt like a western. Is probably the best way to put it. It was very.
I agree with that. That's actually a very good way of putting it.
It was very if anyone's ever watched the TV show Firefly, it kind of felt like that. It was this ragtag group of, it's not as good as Firefly, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying it has the same tone as this ragtag group of space pirates who go around robbing things, and it did feel like an old-fashioned western, and it was quite Nice. And it wasn't like the tonal mess that Last Jedi is, and I promise this is not just us having a go at Last Jedi again.
Yeah, no, we've done enough with that. We're done with that film forever now.
But they learnt from that movie that you can't just have like tonal fluxes. You need to have consistency, and if you want to do comedy, you have to put it on certain characters. You can't just have everyone making jokes, which they've listened to the fans and they've learnt something from that. I thought the comedy in this was probably some of the best comedy we've had in a Star Wars movie. Not that that's got much to compare to, because they're not normally funny.
No, I think it's only really the new ones that have experimented with this kind of humour.
It's not as funny as like Rogue One with K2, but
any jokes
better than Force Awakens.
I would say any jokes that relied on Alden Ehrenreich's delivery fell a bit flat, but that's more to do with Alden Ehrenreich.
But that's comic timing is something you either have or you don't in it. It's not, you can't really put that on him. Some people are funny and some people aren't.
Yeah. But all the jokes that didn't revolve around him, generally it was, as I said, it was entertaining, and the humour definitely helped build on that.
Yeah, it was. So, I mean, it's quite nice to actually be positive about something. We don't normally do this.
Oh, there are some things that made me angry. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, we'll get into them, but we're being positive for now. Moving on from that note, we should probably talk about the casting. Overall, obviously, I'd say solid.
Obviously, the main the main spotlight, if you want, on acting performance was always going to be on Alden Ehrenreich. This kind of big PR shitstorm that said he was going to be awful. He wasn't terrible. I'd say half of his lines were delivered as like there is a Han Solo character there, a really good character. Yeah. Half of his lines were delivered like a young Han Solo, and then half of them were just this kind of Disney-fied, gung-ho. I don't quite know how to describe it, but half of his delivery was really off, you know.
I think that his worst scenes were when he was trying to interact with Emilia Clarke, because they had like zero chemistry.
Absolutely. Side note, how does Emilia Clarke keep getting roles?
I don't know. I mean, I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I'm sure she's really good at that.
She's fine in Game of Thrones. But she's just not very good in this film. No. And I feel like saying this might open me up to a lot of criticism, but it was so... I mean, her character wasn't particularly well written. I'll go into that. Her character wasn't well written, her dialogue wasn't well written, and it just... very wooden performance overall, I think, actually.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing.
She wasn't given much to do in defence of Emilia Clarke, who I didn't like in this movie either, and I thought her performance was very wooden. But like, it's the same argument of you look at Hayden Christensen's script from the prequels, and there's no like Daniel Day-Lewis couldn't have done anything.
No,
with
absolutely.
That script.
You as I say, the script in general, a lot of the dialogue's very sort of cliched. There's a lot of really weird, out of place lines. A very sort of Disney-y script. I think for this film to be great, they'd have to try and detach from that. I think that's what Lord and Miller were going for, actually.
Yeah.
I've read somewhere that they were going for this darker sort of cut, and apparently that led to the creative differences that would eventually get them replaced.
Well, and the fact that they were they just fell months behind the shooting schedule because they were improvising every scene every day.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I'm all for like fun and improvisation, but I kind of understand where Disney were coming from.
No, definitely. I'm not here to say it was an injustice they were fired. If there were reasons, there were reasons, you know.
But in the same way that, you know, everyone out there dreams that we could have seen the Edgar Wright Ant-Man, I wish we could have seen a Lord and Miller Solo.
Yeah, absolutely. I am very keen to see that cut. Maybe it would shine this one in a more positive light, actually.
Or maybe Disney were right and it was just terrible.
Yeah,
you don't know.
Maybe.
So
Alden Ehrenreich wasn't the worst actor in the film. Emilia Clarke was far and away the worst performance, actually.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson as Tobias Beckett. Yeah, Woody Harrelson's a good actor.
He was just playing Woody Harrelson like he always does. It wasn't
exactly. It's a character that transcends films, I think.
Yeah, he just plays himself. The sort of cocky guy with a weird accent who's just kind of in this. He kind of plays a role model kind of character. He's fine. It's good. Who else is there? Oh,
so
Paul Bettany's in this movie.
So we've spoken. Donald Glover just steals the show. Just incredible. Genuinely, as we say earlier, genuinely believable as a young Han Solo. Something that Alden Ehrenreich never really gets into the territory of. Moments of greatness. Donald Glover is outstanding. I think the whole way through the film, obviously Billy D. Williams actually coached Donald Glover, met with him and gave him insight onto how to portray the character, and it's amazing, excellent performance. And I'm actually excited to see some of Donald Glover's other work now.
I've heard nothing but good things about Atlanta, but I've never watched it.
Yeah, I've only ever seen Donald Glover in Community.
Same.
So,
and Spider-Man.
Oh yes, of course. And now I'm excited to go out and look at some of his other work, because the guy's proven that character acting is a real strength of his with this film.
Yeah. If you want to get some good Donald Glover as well, I recommend you go watch his stand-up, because he's fucking hilarious. But yeah, so as I said, Paul Bettany is in this film, which I didn't know.
I didn't know that either, actually. I struggled to place him up until the second he spoke, and then I recognised his voice as.
You went, oh, it's Vision.
Yeah, no, exactly. I didn't actually know his name. I just went, oh, it's Vision. Genuinely. It was a fine role. One that maybe could have been expanded upon a bit more. A villain that was just kind of there. It never really poses any massively believable threat. Probably one of the more well-written characters in terms of his dialogue and his sort of interactions. But I would have liked to see him expanded on, maybe his history with Beckett a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, he was just the movie stand-in for the Jabba the Hutt role in this movie.
Yeah, I think so.
He's like a crime lord, I think. Isn't he something? I don't know. It's just a boss of some organisation. Yeah. But we'll get into that more later on.
I've actually just learned that Michael K. Williams was originally cast as Dryden Voss, which is
who's that?
He is Omar Little in The Wire.
I've never watched The Wire.
Chalky White in Boardwalk Empire.
Never watched Boardwalk Empire.
I've never watched either of them. But apparently he was cast, but was removed because he couldn't return.
What's his name? I'll Google him.
Michael K. Williams. He was removed from this from the film because he couldn't return for all the reshoots they did following Lord and Miller's departure. So Paul Bettany was cast in place of him.
Oh, okay. Oh, I do know him. He was in Community. Yeah, no, I know who that guy is. Oh, that would have been quite cool. I mean, I love Paul Bettany, but Michael K. Williams, he's kind of a terrifying man. So that would have been a bit more... Like, Paul Bettany, he did this well, but he didn't really have the intimidation. But we'll get into that more in spoilers. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we do spoilers?
Oh, the other casting. Thandie Newton as Val Beckett. I can't really say much about her because it would spoil the film.
Yeah, she was great.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge as L337. It makes me so fucking angry that that's the droid's name. L337. Okay, yeah, it's Leet. The droid is called Leet. And that winds me up.
Matt's very angry about this. It was
very angry.
John Favreau. Wasn't John Favreau in this as
John
well?
Favreau was a little alien pilot in Thomas Beckett's crew, if you want.
He was good. I'm just trying to think. There's not really much more casting or anything we can talk about here. We've done overall thoughts. We've done plot. We've done tone. We've done humour. than casting. I think that's just if you're not sticking around for the spoiler review, I'd say if you're a fan of Star Wars, go and watch this film. You might not love it, but you're not going to be offended by it. It's fine.
It's definitely fair to say lower your expectations. It's not a blockbuster.
No.
It as a film, it has a lot of shortcomings, but as a show, it's fine. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
Which maybe isn't what they were aiming for, but I didn't come out of it. I didn't come out of this film angry or annoyed.
No, it was better than Deadpool 2.
It was better than Deadpool 2 because it
had a plot.
It was entertaining and consistent, and didn't think it was funnier than it was.
Yeah, so should we do spoilers?
Yeah, let's do spoilers. Okay, so go away now
warning.
if you're planning to watch this film.
Go
by
watch
the
it,
by
come
the
back,
sounds of
listen
it,
to the
that's a
rest.
lot of people because nobody's been to fucking see this film.
If you want to not hear this, go away, watch the movie, and then come back and listen to the rest of our podcast. And you can hear us talk about some of the major things. Right, so you've been warned, non-spoilers. Right, so we will go through this movie from the beginning to the end, talking about all of the things we liked, all the things we didn't like, what worked, what didn't, and so we're going to start off with the start of the film, and oh my god, the way this film starts, just not good, because there's a delivery of a certain piece of Star Wars history, which I'm going to let Matt explain to us, and that is, Matt, how does Han Solo get his name?
So I think actually, first of all, we should start off with the opening credits.
Okay.
Sorry, I just want to
completely ruined.
I just wanted to quickly mention they bait and switch us with the kind of yellow title crawl music. It opened with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and I was sat there like, here it comes, and it was just like a really quiet piece of subdued music and just a blue text dump on the screen. That fucking annoyed me.
And then the Han Solo logo flies onto the screen, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. That felt very out of place, actually.
Yeah.
It felt like they were trying to go for an 80s title screen, like an epic kind of. It reminded me of Flash Gordon, which is not something I want to be reminded of when I'm watching a Star Wars film.
It definitely screamed Thor Ragnarok was successful, so let's do that.
Yeah, hey guys, Marvel are doing well, aren't they?
Yeah, so anyway, how did Han Solo get his name? Do not derail me again, Matthew.
Han escapes Corellia with his, I guess, lover, Kira. He gets across a border to safety. She gets captured. He goes and joins the Imperial fleet. He joins the Imperial Navy. They ask for his name and his race. He says, Han, I'm alone. And this guy sat on the recruitment desk just says, I'll put it in as Han Solo. Fuck off, movie. Fuck off with that bullshit. Don't do that to me.
Also, it's
pointless.
worth mentioning
just
that
a pointless...
Han is Oh, you're right. Your mic's cutting out a bit there.
It was just a pointless addition. Just have his name be Han Solo.
And also, he's 25, 26 at this point? He's 25 years old and he's never had a surname? That's not how names work. Unless you're Madonna. Is Han Solo Madonna? Is that what this movie's trying to tell us?
Maybe. I mean, Madonna has a slightly better ring to it than Han. But the idea that this iconic Han Solo name was just an offhanded comment by a guy at a fucking desk, and then Han himself takes it up, it's stupid. This was the only moment in the film that got an audible reaction. Well, there's one other moment, actually, and we will explain that, because it's very out of place, but quite cool. So, in quite a full movie theatre, I sort of slumped back in my chair, crossed my arms, and went, well, that is really fucking dumb. And then realised where I was. Maybe that I shouldn't just let everyone know what I'm thinking of this film as I'm watching it. But it was stupid. It was really stupid. A very stupid moment.
We have forgotten one thing. Again, going to slightly derail here. before this scene, when they're getting separated by the border, we get the first introduction of the golden dice from The Last Jedi, which
they cease to play a part later on in the film, but the big build up for these dice and their significance is Han has them.
Yeah,
that's it. They're just something he's had and always had, but they place so much focus on them, like in the opening sort of chase sequence when they're getting off Corellia. Incidentally, they escape on what are they, essentially industrial land speeders.
Yeah.
They desperately wanted it to be a car chase, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely.
These land speeders were drifting around and crashing into each other. They wanted cars. That's what they wanted.
Yeah, and it was just a bit weird.
But there's in the opening in the opening sort of 20 minutes, there's at least a few sort of focus shots of just the dice, and Han and Kira exchanging just the dice, and the big payoff is that he has them.
Yeah, they're not relevant. All the focus that was put on them in The Last Jedi, all the focus that is put on them in this movie, and they're just a set of lucky dice.
Yeah.
That's it.
They definitely should have gone with the extended universe reason, I think, especially considering they were at some points in the right sort of setting to have it, you know.
Yeah.
Incidentally, the extended universe reason is that Chewbacca just he buys them at a junkyard and puts them on the dashboard of the Millennium Falcon, and sees how long it takes for Han to notice them. That's it.
That's their whole. That's their history.
That is more of a story than, he has them.
Yes. We don't even know where he gets them from. He just has them at the start of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. There'd at least be some sort of origin or something tied to them. But
so they get off Corellia, and Han Solo joins the Imperial Navy. He's then instantly kicked out of the Imperial Navy. And
off-screen. He's kicked out off-screen. There's one single line of dialogue explaining why he was kicked out.
Yeah, and he joins the Imperial. I'm guessing it's a foot infantry, even though they're not dressed as stormtroopers.
The Imperial infantry.
They're not dressed as stormtroopers. They're just wearing black cloaks. It's a bit weird. And so he joins them. Then he meets up with Woody Harrelson and his crew, who we think are Imperial officers, but they're not. They're smugglers.
They're smugglers posing as Imperial soldiers. They're wearing. Han notices the laser massive. I guess not gunshots, laser shots. I guess to Tobias Beckett's vest, and he says. He basically challenges him and says, "I reckon you stole this." I'm not quoting the script exactly. I reckon you stole this from a dead guy. Yeah.
And that also begs the question of, if that armour can't stop a laser bolt, why the fuck are they wearing it?
That's the problem with Stormtrooper armour in general, I think.
Yeah.
The whole thing of why are they wearing big sets of armour
that doesn't work.
Yeah, if Captain Phasma has bulletproof armour, why isn't the whole fleet wearing it?
Yeah, so anyway, that's completely off topic. So he threatens to blackmail this smugglers troupe unless they take
Han with them. Unfortunately, Beckett's posing as a captain. So Beckett just has him arrested and thrown in a pit with a beast.
Now, I knew who this beast was the second they said it. It's not hidden. It's Chewbacca, basically. Chewbacca they don't explain why he's there. They don't explain how he got there. They also, why he's just chained up when they could be... Whereas, you see later on in the movie they're using Wookiees as slave labour, and they acknowledge that they're sentient beings, but for some reason Chewbacca is treated like a dog.
Not only that, but we witnessed Chewbacca's strength firsthand, and the chain they've got him chained up with is pathetically flimsy.
Yeah.
That's just a side note. This animal is not restrained at all.
No. It also is kind of insulting to Chewbacca, who Chewbacca and Han Solo, I always got a very Wallace and Gromit vibe from them, and that was that Han Solo is the talking face, but Chewbacca is actually the brains. But in this movie, they completely revert that because Chewbacca's obviously been locked up in this cage for a while. We don't know how long. But it takes until Han shows up for him to realise that all he has to do to escape was punch a pole.
Yeah, it's trying to establish friendships that are already established in previous instances. There's always a problem. There's an instance of that later on that I want to talk about. It's the inherent problem with you just have to carry on with the film on the assumption that they are now gonna be best friends.
For no reason.
Yeah, it's never really explained why their friendship establishes like that. I don't know. Again, there's extended universe stuff. There's extended universe reasons for almost all of what we're about to talk about, but they're never directly addressed, so we have to assume rather that that's not the idea.
Yeah, so anyway, Han and Chewie break out after Han starts speaking to Chewbacca in Wookiee, which was a bit weird. I mean, it was kind of like... I liked the fact that they introduced that Han could speak Wookiee, because that instantly gave a reason for Chewbacca to trust him.
Yeah, exactly. But it's then Han immediately reverts back to English and never goes back to speaking Wookiee. And Chewbacca suddenly seems to understand him in English.
It's not the best plot line, but it was it was a nice idea.
It was a nice idea. In the broad scope of things, it doesn't make sense, which is another instance of how it's entertaining but shit.
So then they escape and they go and meet up with Woody Harrelson's character. I think his name's Tobias, isn't it?
Tobias Beckett.
So and then he just completely changes his mind about Han Solo for no reason. This kid that has literally done nothing but blackmail you, and suddenly you trust him for no reason other than he broke out of prison. So he picks him up and they fly away to go and do a job. And that's the opening scene of the movie. It was fine. As you said, this opening section, which is about 20-30 minutes long, it's really long-winded, but I guess it sets up the movie all right. It's just very boring.
Yeah. I couldn't really formulate why, and I think that's just because nothing, besides Han's first meeting with Chewbacca, nothing of consequence happens.
Its whole section could have been like 10-15 minutes long, and it would have been fine. And then you wouldn't have had a movie that was like 2 hours 20 minutes long. And then, so does anything happen between then and the first job, or do they go straight into the train heist?
They go straight into the train heist, I believe.
Okay, and this is where this movie starts to pick up. So the train heist is all over the trailers. Everyone's seen it. Even if you haven't seen the movie, you know what the train heist is. And it's literally an old-fashioned Western train heist, which I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun action set piece.
I thought it was a fun. It was choreographed very well. I like the idea that the train sort of rolls around on its tracks. I'm calling it a train. I think they refer to it as a train.
Yeah. They're trying to steal some hyperdrive fuel,
coaxium,
aren't they? Yeah.
Coaxium, which is essentially just hyperdrive fuel. That's important. That comes into it later. Into the film later.
They're obviously going hard into this. Fuel is a thing in the Star Wars universe now.
Yeah.
Because it was a major plot point in The Last Jedi. It's a major plot point in this movie, but I don't think I've ever heard fuel mentioned before in the Star Wars universe.
No, I don't think so. Unless that's what the ships were doing in the hangar at Naboo. But I think they were just being stored, weren't they? I can't remember.
Yeah. So fuel is a thing in the Star Wars universe now. I suppose it's like, it was fine. It's cool. Now, I have a slight problem with this hyperdrive fuel that I'm going to mention now, even though it's more of a point later on. They have to steal this refined fuel, and they don't. We'll go into that in a minute, why they don't. So they have to go and get some unrefined thing, and they're warned that they have to do it in a certain amount of time, because unrefined hyperdrive fuel is so unstable that if it's not refined within like 6 or 7 hours, it explodes. How does this stuff exist then?
Yeah, Exactly, yeah. I don't think
It's like-
it's never explained later on when unrefined coaxium. At some point in this episode, I'm going to forget that word.
Yeah.
It's never explained why unrefined coaxium is able to be stored where it is.
Yeah.
I don't think
'Cause
it's
it's
ever
just-
directly referenced.
No, it's not. They
But
literally
the
just
fact
say
that it's
that
just
if we
sat
don't.
in some cylinders in
But it's
Dryden
fine
Voss's
there.
ship. Yeah.
It's just that, but that's probably just a bit of oversight, and we're kind of overthinking things. But anyway, so right, back to the train heist. What did you think of this, Matt? You forgot the second half of your name then.
It was fine. It was all right. I was just generally a bit bored with the first half. Like I said, nothing sort of shocking or anything happened here.
No.
I never really expected the shipment to succeed. The heist.
Two of the crew died.
Yeah. So the Jon Favreau little alien thing, whose name I've forgotten, gets shot and dies.
Through the shoulder.
Through the shoulder.
How does he die? How does he die from unless like they're in his species have their brains in their shoulders or something?
Or maybe it was just low enough in his shoulder that it was his heart or something. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
he dies, as does Thomas Beckett's wife. She's being attacked by Viper droids and can't escape. She needs to detonate a bridge to derail the train to steal the canister with the carriage rather with the coaxium in it.
And she blows herself up.
She blows herself up. So it doesn't work. We're also introduced to this group, the
Marauders.
The Cloud Riders.
Is that what they're called?
The Cloud Riders. Yeah, they're essentially
Okay.
a scavenger group that later come on to be quite significant, actually. With their leader, Emphis Nest, her name is, which for the longest time I thought was the name of the actual group.
No, it's just, and that's the dude with the weird spiky helmet from the trailers. You've seen it,
Yeah.
like stood on the beach.
So they basically ruin the heist. 2 crew members die. Coincidentally, Jon Favreau's little alien thing was the pilot. Han then stays on with Beckett. Beckett reveals he was ordered to steal this shipment of coaxium for Dryden Voss. We're introduced to Dryden Voss.
Who's Paul Bettany?
Paul Bettany, yep. The leader or high-ranking person?
I think he is second in command because there's a scene later on that reveals that he had a boss.
Oh, that's true, yes. So let's assume second in command in the Crimson Dawn crime syndicate. So Han and Chewbacca... Sorry,
Matt,
go on.
was it just me, or were you thinking the whole time this was going on that it was basically the what they called the Blue Suns from Mass Effect?
Yeah. I wasn't thinking that, but I have to say, yeah.
It's just them, isn't it? It's just a group of mercenaries.
Yeah, definitely.
He's a weird character. Crime Syndicate, not too happy about them failing.
I believe our first introduction to him is him killing somebody because they failed him, and then
with a lightsaber knife, which was quite cool. I did like.
Yeah, I like this. That's something I like about all of the new films. The playing around with these lightsaber weapons. Obviously, it doesn't make sense in the timeline perspective, because it begs the question of where did these knives go for the original trilogy films.
Yeah.
But they're cool designs.
Yeah, and also because it doesn't really ever come up in the movie, I'm going to mention that here. Apart from one thing which we're going to mention later on, and it's one tiny thing, it's quite nice to see a Star Wars movie with no reference to the Force, no reference to Jedi, nothing like that. It's just there's nothing to do with any of that. This is just about smugglers, and I quite liked that. They didn't try and tie it in because I was half expecting was it Bennett? Is that his name?
Beckett.
I was kind of half expecting maybe he was Force sensitive or they were going to do something silly like that, but nope, there's no Jedi, there's no Force, there's nothing like that in this movie, and it was quite refreshing.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think the closest we've come to that was Rogue One, but they still had the kind of Empire Rebellion dynamic.
Yeah.
I don't think there was
And
any direct reference. Oh no, there was the blind Jedi dude.
Yeah, he could use the Force somewhat.
So yeah, this might be the first Star Wars film without any reference to the Force, the light and the dark side.
It was just a nice change. But so you were saying about Paul Bettany and his crime syndicate. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. So he murders a dude. Han and Beckett and Chewie have to go and tell him that they failed to steal the shipment of coaxium. Han bumps into Kira. So as it turns out, Kira made it off of Corellia.
Never explained.
No, it's not explained how. It's just, I mean, we'll spoil it right now. She's working for the Crimson Dawn.
Yeah.
And it's not explained how she joined. It's not explained how Dryden Voss met her. It's just kind of. It's just kind of a thing.
One throwaway line.
Yeah.
There's one throwaway line where she says like, "He saved me" or something like that. I can't remember exactly what she says, but something, and it's just okay. Yay. So they failed the shipment. So in order to repay the debt to the Crimson Dawn, they have to go and get the same amount of hyperdrive fuel. I'm not even going to try and pronounce what it's called.
Coaxium. I've got like a list of the like a plot synopsis in front of me, and I just keep referring back to the word coaxium.
Yeah, that thing. I'm still not going to try and say it.
Yeah, so Dryden Voss essentially says, we're never going to get that much refined coaxium ever again. Han says, what about unrefined? Dryden Voss goes, okay. So
Which
they go
begs
off.
the question of why don't they do that in the first place if it's so much easier to get?
Well, yeah, I suppose. Well, it's not easy as such, is it? But
Oh no, because it's in the spice mines of Kessel. We knew that was going to come up, didn't we?
Yeah.
We knew there'd be a Kessel run in this movie.
I'm pretty sure we predicted it actually, that there would be some sort of Kessel run. Anyway,
but we'll get onto that when it shows up.
So Han and Beckett are led by Kira, who joins their uneasy team, and she takes them to Lando Calrissian. This is where the film starts to pick up. Donald Glover has that kind of impact on the film that I was suddenly interested when he started appearing in the film.
Yeah, he is brilliant, and his character introduction is perfect.
As we've said, a brilliant character. They teased the idea that Han won the Millennium Falcon from Lando in a bet by sort of having Han and Lando engage in a game of, I forget what the name of this.
Like
Sabak.
Sabak. Yeah,
that's what it is. And they
Which
actually
is
have
poker
Han
in Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. They actually have Han bet his ship against Lando's ship and have Han lose. Which is cool. Lando joins the team for a share of the profits rather than a favour, which is cool. And then we see the Millennium Falcon in an impound lot, but we see the Millennium Falcon with its weird nose cone design as as which they actually go on in a dress, which is cool. I like that they addressed this.
I'm glad they did.
Yeah, definitely.
I
remember when I first saw, I think the first press release we had was just a picture of the Falcon, and I remember sort of being very uneasy about it.
I also liked the fact that in the original trilogy, Han Solo says that his spaceship is a Corellian frigate with his own special modifications, but it turns out those modifications are just Lando's.
Yeah.
He's just taking credit for them.
Yeah. Which
I quite. That's a very Han Solo thing to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, Lando is the one that's like souped up the Falcon to be awesome and crazy, and Han just takes credit for it because he's an asshole.
We're also introduced to Lando Calrissian's droid, L337. She's she basically
an SJW droid.
If you ever wondered if BuzzFeed could be installed on a droid, that is essentially what L3 is. She is sort of very passionate about droid rights. That comes into play when they get to these Kessel mines. So yeah, they board the ship. L3 is Lando's co-pilot. It's heavily implied that he's fucked her. Heavily implied.
There's a genuine scene where they talk about it, isn't there?
Yeah. Heavily implied, if not outright stated, that Lando has fucked his droid.
Yeah.
Which,
it's a bit weird.
Sure.
It's very Lando, though.
It is what it is, I suppose. There's actually... I just want to talk quickly... I forget who, but one of the people who worked on Solo actually came out post-release and said that in this film, Lando Calrissian was pansexual. I was actively looking for evidence of that throughout this film, and I didn't see any.
Apart from the droid fucking.
Apart from the droid fucking, but I think that's just a misunderstanding of what pansexuality is generally understood to be. I think it was I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I felt like it was a crowd pleaser move.
Yeah.
I feel like the film itself would have been completely unimpacted if that was never said.
Well, it is, because it's not even made clear in the movie. It's added on after the fact.
No, exactly. It's and by the way, I mean, if Lando had actually been written as a pansexual character, that would be notable. I'm not saying I'm against that, but the fact that it's here's Solo, and by the way, this guy's pan. We're telling you that because you're not going to get that from the film. That's what it felt like.
It's like Dumbledore being gay.
Yeah, exactly. It's never addressed. It's just, and by the way, off screen.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's going to get me hunted down. That's I've spoken about sexuality and slag BuzzFeed off. I'm going to be murdered by some sort of justice warrior now.
Oh, you're going to have the swaves of Tumblr after you.
Oh, what's her name? The one BuzzFeed girl that always appears. Tan. Is it Tan? With the hat?
Yes.
Tan. I'm going to open the door one day and Tan will be stood there.
She'll just kick you in the nuts.
Probably. And then tell me off for having them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Yeah,
so, let's definitely move on. Please. So they're on the Falcon. They head to Kessel. They infiltrate this mine to look for the coaxium.
Yeah.
Nice little touch that Beckett comes off of the Falcon wearing Lando's outfit from when he was in disguise at Jabba's palace and
I
the
loved
Sarlacc
that.
pit.
I really loved that.
I thought that was
so
a
cool.
really nice little touch, actually. There's a lot of nice little touches.
One thing I do have a question though is the way they get out of the spice mines is K3, is that her name?
L3.
L3 start to riot. Now that's fine, it works, but intercut with all of these scenes of the riot is just scenes of people in the mine, like guards, just not doing anything about it. Like there's a scene where Han is trying to escape and he just comes up to a guard on a post and has a chat with him while the entire slave of the mines are escaping out the front door. This one guard's just stood by a door.
No, that's very true. I think it's just an example of because movie.
Yeah. It's a bit weird. But it's fine. This breakout scene is okay, I guess. It's you get Chewie meeting up with his family and then deciding to ditch them instantly.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
It was always going to be a problem establishing Han and Chewie's friendship. We already know that they go on to be best friends as a result of this film, but I don't think the film properly built their friendship up. I understand that Han rescued Chewbacca from being a slave on the
planet,
the Imperial mud planet war place thing. But beyond that, they just kind of talk. Chewbacca mentions earlier on in the film that his one and only goal, was to meet with his people, to find his people. And he finds his people and says, no, I'm going to go off with this other guy that
I've just met
and don't really know. It doesn't make sense. Nothing... the main weight that this friendship has was just coming from the fact that we knew that they'd go on to be friends. It never did anything in and of itself to establish that. Maybe it's just me that has that complaint. I don't know, but I just felt like it wasn't properly established that they were best friends. You just kind of had to go on the assumption that they were.
But it's a very quick scene. The actual heist is almost over within like 2 minutes. And then what? Then the robot dies, I think.
L3, instead of escaping to the ship, starts yelling. I can't remember what she yells.
Viva la Revolution or something.
Basically, God save the Queen, punk rock forever. And then gets shot and basically dies. Lando goes out to her, basically cementing the idea that they're in love. I think it's somewhat referenced earlier on in the film. L3 basically explains to Kira that she thinks Lando's in love with him, but she's not in love with her, but she's not in love with him.
It's weird.
It's a very, very weird. So Lando is injured as well, which means Han has to pilot the Millennium Falcon.
And this is the best scene in the movie. This is amazing, this bit.
So with the pilot and co-pilot dead, we see the first instance of Han and Chewie piloting the Falcon. I liked this. This was good. Just the kind of the child in me was just like, this is a really cool moment, and the music was sort of swelling. It was built very well. It was made to feel like a significant scene.
Yeah, and there was just like, it was really nice as well, because there were like moments of Han and Chewie just being on the same wavelength, and I know that doesn't make sense because they don't know each other and they shouldn't be, but it was just like, apart from the asteroid scene in the original trilogy, you've never really seen Han and Chewie doing what they do best, and this is them, at the peak of their careers, just doing this incredible piloting through what is essentially like a solar space storm type thing. I'm not entirely sure what was going on there. It's the Kessel Run basically, and it's the music from the original asteroid scene, and although it doesn't make sense, but it's just nice, and I think they get into a fight with a couple of TIE fighters, and you've got Beckett on the gun.
So they're escaping this maelstrom, I think they refer to it as, giant electrical storm. Basically, there's a single channel for safe navigation through it. As they're trying to escape, that gets blocked by an Imperial blockade. So Han just flies into the maelstrom. The TIE fighters follow him. I don't quite understand why. They know that it's dangerous. It's explicitly stated that this maelstrom, no one's ever flown out of it. It was very weird to see the TIE fighters follow him. That's like blind loyalty to the point of carelessness. But he outmaneuvers the TIE fighters. They all crash. There's quite a cool scene actually where Han sort of lands the Falcon at high speed and sort of slides it along a surface. I can't explain it really, but
he puts the landing gear down. It hits the ground, does like a power slide to make the TIE fighter come low so it crashes into a rock. It's just, there's also a bit where the gun on the Falcon gets destroyed, so the TIE fighter comes around to the front and Han just flips the ship and like bats it away.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah, no, that was quite cool.
And then they run into a giant space squid for no reason.
So there's a maul as such that's referred to in this maelstrom. And they run into this giant space squid, and it starts chasing them. And one of the characters asks, "Is this the maul?" And another character says, "No, isn't. That's the maul." The maul is just a giant gravity well, essentially. So the Millennium Falcon and the squid thing get caught in the gravity well. So Han has the idea of firing the escape pod.
So the squid chases it.
So that the squid... I'm going to just call it the squid. I don't know what it is. It's a squid with a load of eyes. So the squid chases that into the maul. This is where they actually explain the difference in design of the ship. So the extended nose that we see on the front of the Millennium Falcon is actually an escape pod. And
I like this.
When the escape pod is fired off of the ship, it's essentially Han never replaces the escape pod. No. I like that they addressed that. I would have been really angry if they hadn't addressed why it looked different, but I like that they addressed that. And to the point, I actually quite like the design of the Falcon with its escape pod on the front.
So do I. I also like that they address that at the start of this movie, the Falcon is like brand new, and it's got a slick paint job, and it's got a perfect shielding. And then by the end, at the beginning of like New Hope, it's got bits missing off of it, exposed wiring, and all that. And they explain that all of that happened here.
Yeah, escaping this giant
Han just left it.
Yeah,
he's just, which is kind of brilliant because that's very Han Solo. I can't be bothered.
So then this coaxium comes into play. Essentially, the characters have a discussion, and they need to put a drop of coaxium in the hyperdrive to give them a speed boost to get out of the pull of the gravity well. Considering how close they got to the gravity well, I don't think that's possible.
No.
The scientist in me, when you get that close to a well of, for all scientific purposes, infinite gravity, you have to consider black holes, gravity wells. Their center is an infinitely strong gravitational pull because it's black. Nothing is escaping it. But I don't know.
Matt,
in a world
Star
where
Wars
there's
and physics don't go.
No, exactly. In a world where there's spaceships that only recently have been discussed as needing fuel, it's something that I can overlook. I don't know.
And there's explosions in space and sound in space and.
So
it's
there's a drop of coaxium in the hyperdrive. Han yells "punch it," in a slightly less graceful reference to the rest of the films, and they escape this maelstrom and they make it to Savareen, I believe it's called.
Before we move on, I just want to mention that this movie it's a really, really, really silly joke, but for some reason I liked it, and that is that while they're flying through, just as they are flying into this maelstrom, Han says, "I've got a really good feeling about this." Now, that, if you don't know, that's a reference to every Star Wars movie. A character says, "I've got a really bad feeling about this," but in this movie they changed it up because Han is young and cocky, and it's a little throwaway joke, but I thought it felt quite nice. The changing to "I've got a really good feeling about this." It was I liked it. It was fun, very cocky, very Han Solo.
Yeah.
And technically the tradition is continued. They've slightly changed it, but every movie still says it, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, was this the first film that Anthony Daniels didn't appear in? Just as another side note of tradition.
I don't remember seeing C-3PO in it. I don't think...
Not necessarily as C-3PO. I'm just having a look.
Warwick Davis is in it.
Yeah, he reprises his role from the Phantom Menace, was it?
I don't know, but he's in it, and he's a Star Wars legend. I don't know if Anthony Daniels is in this. But C-3PO and R2-D2 certainly aren't, which I'm really glad about.
Apparently, yes. Apparently he is in it, but it's a minor cameo just to say he's been in every single one, I suppose.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough.
That's fine. I'm fine with that. If they'd included C-3PO and R2-D2, it would have fucked with the timeline irreversibly. So I'm totally fine with that.
They get to this planet that Matt knows the name of and I don't.
Because I've got a list of it in front of you.
Okay.
Let me get it up. It's Savareen.
Yeah, it's a desert planet because we don't have enough of those in Star Wars.
Yeah. So it turns out that they've been tracked this whole time and followed by Memphis Nest and the Mad Max Light Gang, the Cloud Riders.
Yeah.
The Cloud Riders.
Yes.
So Lando is essentially very upset with Han at this point because his ship's been destroyed.
And he's been shot.
And he's been shot, and his companion's dead, and it's for nothing.
He actually says, "I hate you and I never want to see you again."
Yeah, and the next time they meet, he calls him a friend. So
yeah, it's a bit weird.
It is a bit odd.
But we find out that this gang of sand people are rebels. Are like the first rebels.
Yeah, so they're a group of rebels. They're trying to stop the Empire from gaining power before they gain it.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if this is just a coincidence or it's a very subtle, very clever nod, but this group, once they all demasked, looked identical to Saw Gerrera's gang from Rogue One.
No, that's true, actually.
I don't know if this could be Saw Gerrera's gang before Saw Gerrera joined it, or maybe Saw Gerrera is in it, just not on this mission. That would be really cool if they went that way.
Because it's a similar sort of time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a similar sort of time. They have like they look very similar. I'm probably reading too much into it, but I think that would be a very nice nod. So yeah, they are the first. Well, they're not the first, but they're like a splinter group of the rebellion which hasn't fully formed yet.
Yeah, they are the spark that lights the fire that would eventually burn down the Empire.
Yes.
There's a cute little segue for you.
Yeah. To what?
I don't know. The rest of the film, I don't know.
Okay, so they come up with a plan off screen, which we don't know about, and what's his face? Beckett leaves because he doesn't want to help the rebels, and then the Red Dawn, is that the name? I can't remember.
Crimson Dawn. So close enough.
Crimson Dawn. Yeah, Red Dawn's a movie about like Russians, I think. So yeah, the Crimson Dawn show up in their massive space yacht, which is a weird design.
It was an odd design,
and they
wasn't it?
And then they go and meet Paul Bettany, and I don't know, this was a weird scene. I don't. So they go up and they give him the hyperdrive fuel. Matt, name?
Coaxium.
That one. And then he knows that it's fake because Woody Harrelson's Beckett didn't leave. He stuck around to tell him somehow, even though they got on the ship like the second the ship arrived, that they were planning on tricking him.
So Beckett told Dryden Voss that the coaxium was fake, and he sent his squad of his, I don't know, space SWAT, I guess, the space SWAT team, to go and track down the real coaxium, which was supposedly being held by the Cloud Riders. Then it emerges that Han anticipated that Beckett would betray them, and somehow, and the coaxium on the ship was the real coaxium, and the Cloud Riders were not the Cloud Riders. Were prepared. They'd already sort of disappeared, and the Cloud Riders were not the Cloud Riders. They were just the people, the residents of Savareen,
desert planet, in
disguise.
And so it's just, and then there's a fight between Paul Bettany and Eldon Orike, whatever his name is.
Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah, I genuinely thought, and I both hate and love this idea, but I honestly thought that during this fight with the little lightsaber knife, we were going to get the origin of the chin scar. You know, like in the third Indiana Jones movie, they put in because Harrison Ford has got a massive scar on his chin, if you don't know. And in the third Indiana Jones movie, when they do a young Indiana Jones, he gets whipped in the face, and that's why he's got this scar. And I honestly thought this was going to be the origin of the chin scar in the Star Wars universe. I'm kind of annoyed they didn't do that, because I thought that would have been quite funny.
I'm indifferent about that. I don't feel like they should do it just because Indiana Jones did it.
But it's just I'd like the idea, because it's pretty noticeable that Harrison Ford has this massive fucking scar on his face.
Yeah. So Beckett runs off, takes Chewbacca hostage to carry the coaxium, essentially.
Yeah.
So Dryden Voss and Kira and Han all have like a 3-way fight. Kira's so my general problem with Kira, Emilia Clarke's Kira as a character, is that her morality flip-flops far too much. I know it's an idea that she's a survivor, and she'll do what she needs to do to survive, but to flip-flop this violently, this frequently, it just feels like we're being played. To the point that it's hard to get invested in anything she does, because there's a difference between unpredictability and disinterest. By the end I was disinterested in Kira because it's teased that she'll kill Han, but then she fights Dryden, and then she goes to kill Han again, but then she kills Dryden Voss.
And then she betrays Han again.
And then she betrays Han again, and it's maybe that's they're trying to paint that as the nature of the Crimson Dawn. I don't know, but it made it quite hard to get invested in Kira as a character.
Right, Matt, we're at the scene. The only thing that really matters, spoiler-wise, in this movie is one scene here that happens for about 30 seconds.
So Beckett's running off. Han somehow goes and catches them. They somehow gets to them. He must get ahead of them and then be waiting there for Beckett and Chewbacca. I don't understand that.
Question. Who shot Beckett?
Han. I believe we're led to believe it was Han.
Oh, because Han shoots first. Okay, I get
Yes.
it. It's a reference. Okay, fine.
Yeah. So Beckett, Han catches up to Beckett and Chewbacca. Kira takes this kind of symbolic ring off of Dryden Voss's wrist, basically making her this new. She takes over his role. She plugs the ring into this computer, I guess. A hologram link shows up, and we see a pair of robotic legs at a chair.
I squealed.
Immediately,
like a child.
Immediately, this set alarm bells off for me. So this hooded character, I recognise the voice as he talks.
Matt, 1 second. Just going to quickly say, I know we gave a spoiler warning earlier, but this is kind of the only plot twist in this movie, so we're going to give another spoiler warning here.
Yeah, we're going to do a little bit of talking about this one. If you don't want to know...
about 5 minutes?
Yeah, if you don't want to know about this cameo, we'll skip forward to...
Yeah.
So this hooded character takes his hood off. It's Darth fucking Maul.
Yes,
or,
it is.
I suppose Maul, as he refers to himself in the film. Wow, this caught me off guard. I
loved it.
I didn't know what to make of it. I was desperately trying to dislike it because it doesn't make all that much sense, but I loved it. So of all of the references they've made to the extended universe in the films, they've all been sort of throwaway cameos and references. This is the first big indicator that they're looking to tie it in.
Yeah.
Obviously, Darth Maul in the expanded universe, I guess, did die at the end of The Phantom Menace, but he's dragged back from hell with spider legs. His mind is reconditioned. He's given robotic legs. He's betrayed by Darth Sidious, and goes on to become sort of arch rivals with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes.
My immediate reaction was, wow, the CGI on his face is fucking awful. It's really not great. It's the original voice actor from, I believe, Rebels, the Clone Wars.
Yes,
either
with
one of
his
those
weird
two.
British accent.
And my second reaction was, oh my god, we're getting a Kenobi movie.
Yes, we are definitely getting a Kenobi movie now.
I've been reading sort of everywhere they could go with the reintroduction of Darth Maul. It can't really... The only concrete way it could go is an Obi-Wan Kenobi film.
Definitely.
There are suggestions they're going to try and tie him into Boba Fett's story, which doesn't make sense.
No.
There's suggestions that... I forget her name every time. Ashka?
Who?
Ascatano. I can't pronounce her name. The cool Jedi from Rebels. Ahsoka.
What? Oh, Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka
Yes.
Tano. I'm never sure on how to pronounce these fucking Star Wars names, but there's suggestions that there'll be a film about her introduction to the Star Wars cinematic universe. No. The only if this was a meaningless cameo, then fair enough. It certainly got people talking. If they're going somewhere with it, it can only really go in the direction of an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone film.
Yes, it definitely can. I've just looked it up. It's Sam Witwer, who was the voice from Rebels and the Clone Wars and Star Wars Battlefront.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yes, it brings me a lot of hope for an Obi-Wan movie.
Yeah. Oh, interestingly, it was Ray Park. Ray Park was playing him as well. The guy who played him in Phantom Menace. Yeah.
That's quite cool because it was Steven
a proper
Saravenovich, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It did the voice in the original.
Yeah.
But no, it's the thing is I really want an Obi-Wan Kenobi solo movie. It's been the one movie ever since they said they were doing these spin-off movies. That's the one that I've wanted more than any other, and
it's the only one that makes sense, really. Of all of all of the characters in the Star Wars universe that you could put under a microscope, Obi-Wan Kenobi would be the most interesting, sort of bridging the gap between Episode 3 and Episode 4. And it makes perfect sense.
I don't want Darth Maul there. I do not want Darth Maul there.
No, that's fair. The story was done so well in Rebels. There's this beautiful scene, the climax of their kind of
Season 4
encounter at the end of Season 4. There are 3 swings of a lightsaber, but it's the best lightsaber fight in any Star Wars related thing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It's
all about stances and eyeing each other up, and it
tells a story. It's a fight that tells a story. It's amazing. I can't pretend I wouldn't want to see Darth Maul there. As I was saying to Ollie before we started recording, it would be the introduction of that storyline to a wider audience. I feel like Rebels is quite niche, more so than the mainstream films.
Very niche.
And for that to be introduced to the main Star Wars cinematic audience would be cool. Would it be as good as the Rebels portrayal? Probably not. They'll probably extend the lightsaber fight because it's a film. That's what people are looking for. But Darth Maul. It didn't make sense, but it was great to see him acknowledged as having survived the Phantom Menace.
And basically, for those of you who don't watch Rebels, which is probably quite a few people, because it is very niche, I don't know if this will be the canon of this movie. If it is, potential spoilers, it probably won't be. But the reason in the canon of Rebels that why Darth Maul is around in this time period is because he's heard the prophecy of the Chosen One and believes it to be Luke. So he's searching for Luke because he believes that Luke is the only one that can stop the Emperor. Now, that explains why he might tie into the Obi-Wan movie, because he might find out that Obi-Wan is protecting Luke. I don't want a young Luke running around Tatooine, which we might get, like some kid actor.
If Luke Skywalker features in this film, there should never be a focus on him. It should be Obi-Wan watching over him from a distance, as he is established to have been doing.
But anyway, right, so we've talked about the Maul cameo. It's fun. It took me by surprise. It was the moment in this
got
movie
a genuine
that got me.
kind of jolt in my chair. It was a Red Skull in Infinity War moment. Just what the fuck? Yeah. They've acknowledged that shit, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so we should probably move on to the end of the movie now. So Chewie and Han go to this weird jungle planet. Where Lando's playing another card game. There's a cool little card game. Han stops Lando from cheating, which is how he won the first space poker game. And Han wins the Falcon.
I like that they acknowledged that. When they first had a gambling scene, I was kind of scared that they'd retcon that, but I like that they went ahead with it. Oh, it's also worth mentioning, Han is directly offered the chance to join this precursor to the rebellion. To join the Cloud Riders and Enfys Nest, and he declines.
He's not interested in it.
No.
So
they give him a single canister of coaxium, which he uses to bet with Lando to win back the Millennium Falcon.
There was a lot of, we'll say as well, heavy-handedness in this movie. A lot of people mention quite frequently that Han Solo's is actually a really nice guy who cares about people, and the swashbuckling, all that, is just a front he puts on. And that is true. That is what Han Solo is. He's hiding behind a mask.
I agree.
It was a bit heavy-handed.
It is what they were trying to do, but show that. Don't tell us that. That's something you need to have the character establish rather than the script. You know?
Just have
we don't need to be reminded by every character that meets him that he's a nice guy.
So then they go to Tatooine,
where
and that's the end of the movie.
A gangster is plotting a heist. Obviously Jabba the Hutt. Which brings us to the question of where this movie sits timeline-wise, because how long was Han working for Jabba before the events of Episode 4?
I will give a quick Google. Solo sit in the Star Wars timeline. See if there's been like an official announcement about where
I doubt
it sits.
It's probably going to be not that long before Rogue One, I would have said.
Yes.
Based on... Well, maybe it is, because this is established as a precursor to the rebellion, so the Empire aren't actually in power yet.
No, it takes place, judging by the... There's no official statement, but people are suggesting that it takes place between 6 or 7 years before A New Hope.
Ah, well, there we go. That's where it sits.
And that's based on a couple of references, but mainly it's based on the in the books Tarkin and A New Dawn. And the fact that Alden Ehrenreich is 7 years younger than Harrison Ford was in A New Hope.
Ah, well, there we go. So
it's
low. Sorry, making myself laugh again. It was.
That was Solo.
It was fine. Sorry if you were expecting us to rip it to pieces.
It was good. I loved it. I'm going to go see it again this week. It's not a special movie. It's not, Infinity War. It's not Force Awakens. It's definitely nowhere near Empire.
No.
But considering the tripe that has been shoved down our throats in the Star Wars universe,
and considering how bad everyone was expecting this film to be, with all the different contributors to that.
It was great. I had a good time. It's not it's not going to win any Oscars or anything, but it was just a fun movie. And that's all Star Wars should be. I
can definitely recommend you going to watch it, which I never thought I'd say, because it is entertaining. All is said and done, it is an entertaining. As films go, it's subpar, but as as spectacles go, as entertainment shows go, it's fine. It's entertaining, bar that first half an hour, which, bring a book for that. You won't miss anything.
I've got a fun way to try and end this.
Just quickly, I like they didn't retcon the misuse of the word parsecs.
No,
as well.
they just and Han's been lying about that. There's a thing where he says he did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Chewie says something in Wookiee, and Han goes, "Yeah, but I'm rounding down."
Yeah, not if I round down.
So he's lying about that. But anyway, I just thought what might be a fun way to end this. It's probably not going to go well because I haven't told Matt about this yet.
Right, I'm immediately somewhat nervous.
Why don't we, now that we've got this film, give an official Star Wars ranking, movies best to worst? Do you want me to go first while you think of yours? I can do that.
Yeah. Yes. Hang on.
Okay.
I've just got to.
I will.
Oh shit.
I will do mine while you think.
Okay.
So my official Star Wars ranking is the best movie is A New Hope, followed by Empire, followed by Rogue One, followed by Force Awakens, followed by Return of the Jedi, followed by Solo, followed by Revenge of the Sith, Last Jedi, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. That's my list from best to worst.
So mine.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Okay, so mine will probably be Empire at the top. Best film, best Star Wars film, Empire. Followed probably by A New Hope.
Yeah.
Rogue One after that, I would say. The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Then the Return of the Jedi. Then the Revenge of the Sith. I just feel like it was more entertaining, despite probably also being worse. I definitely have more fun with that one than I did with Solo. So Solo then. Solo after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Then The Phantom Menace. Then The Last Jedi. And then Attack of the Clones.
Okay, so we mainly agree, apart from what goes in first and between what's better, this or Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay,
I think you put The Last Jedi above The Phantom Menace in yours.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, no, Phantom Menace is third. No, Phantom Menace is the second worst, in my opinion. But A New Hope will always be my favourite, just because it's just such a fun movie. I know it's nowhere near as good as Empire, and I'm not saying that it's a better movie than Empire. Empire is a way better movie. I just have more fun watching A New Hope than any other Star Wars movie.
Yeah. I have to say, of all of those, the one I've watched the most is Return of the Jedi.
Fair enough.
I always have fun watching that one.
Do you know which one I've watched the most? Which is I've watched Revenge of the Sith more than any other Star Wars movie.
Well, that's like I say, it's better at being an entertaining but bad movie than Solo is, and that's why I put it above.
And it gets a bad rap, but it's so much better than the other two prequels.
Yes, it is. Attack of the Clones is stone dead last, and I don't think we disagree on that.
It's just an awful movie. Okay, so that was our review of Solo. I don't know what we're doing next.
Go and watch it. It's entertaining.
I don't know what we're doing next week. We might have to do some spitballing of ideas this week, because I don't think anything's coming out.
We've got a big drought of current affairs, I think.
The only thing...
Unless somebody dies and we can talk about them.
So...
I don't know.
We've got a couple of potential... random ideas that we can try and segue into a news story.
Yeah, just about loads of different things.
So we're not gonna. There's gonna be an episode next week. It might not be the best, but it's gonna exist. So
we might title it "Bear with Us."
Yeah, we're sorry. But this has been the Two Polished Nerd podcast. That's not even our name, but it's close enough, so I'm gonna leave it in. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I've been your host, Oliver Cardrick.
And I've been Matt Patterson.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.